Yeah, oh, making video. Yay. Puro. 3 videos, actually. So, yeah, I'll start with Puro. Just for the Mystic. Then I'll get to the Mystic. I think. I'll try anyway. Throw something at it. Who knows what. And then go to programming stuff, which is Puro again, some. And then I'll go to programming stuff related to the website. I really just don't feel like making 4 different videos. So I'm just going to try to make 1 video. And probably fail. But that's what I'm going to do. So here I go. So Puro's video, no point in showing you, it's just a black screen. He's talking. Sort of vaguely see that there's a Puro there. So anyway, I just play it. It's short and it's stupid.
Okay, I want to raise some issues about what kind of physical study could we do on the will. First of all, we have the fact that the will seems to be, again, illusion or not, related to our, to the brain. So to the biochemistry of the...
Seems? I mean, come on. Why? This is like so fucking stupid. I mean, really. I mean, there's some contention that your fucking brain doesn't have something to do with your consciousness. There's some contention. No, only in your eyes, Puro, does an amputated arm have a soul and a consciousness and a will and a desire and a penis and all the other parts. Only in your wacky, crazy, silly, stupid, idiotic world is that even a... Does that even come in? Does that even fly into the possibility imagination?
Brain. I think we know that. I think we know that it's explained somewhere in the biochemistry of the brain. Now, right there we know that classical physics, that Newtonian dynamics, classical mechanics, whatever you want to call it.
Well, look, stop right there. It's pretty fucking important what you call it. All right? Because, yeah, Newtonian was, as we know, a little flawed. Because guess what? He was doing really big, giant physics. Like really big stuff. All right? And then we know when Einstein modified that, it got a little smaller. But we were stuck with this problem of the whole can't do the velocity directional thing on these tiny, tiny particles because you end up with this fudge error. This you're gonna fuck it up. You can't measure it. So yeah, and that's a different kind of that's an addition to. All right, but everything after that is made up physics. All right, it's theoretical mumbo jumbo, stretching and pulling and wrangling to try to make something that fits to that models what's going on, and that's all it is. And for you to talk like it's established or that something else is all wrong and this is all right, this is bullshit. This is irresponsible. It's unscientific. It's undisciplined. It's reckless. It's like saying, I'm going to go make a cake. All right, I'll put some water in the pan. I'll put some oil in the pan. And then I'm going to add Betty Crocker love. No, you're adding cake mix, Puro. It's not Betty Crocker love. It's cake mix.
That's why they invented quantum mechanics, to explain chemistry. There were enigmas that couldn't be explained.
It doesn't explain it. It's modeling math that just establishes the fact that it can't explain it. It can't be explicit, so it deliberately establishes probability and then puts probability into the math. That's what's taking place. It's cake mix, Puro. It's not fucking magic. It's a model. It's an attempt to model the function. It is not an attempt to explain it.
And with regular mechanics, old school mechanics. It's not regular anymore. Quantum mechanics is very regular. You see the effects all the time when
fuck. Again, to use a word like regular, it's very regular. Well, you know what? If I say something stupid and generic like, I will walk outside someday, well, that's a pretty just. General statements are easy to be regular on. It's easy to be regular when you're predicting the almost grossly obvious. Alright? It gets a little hard to be regular when you're doing something a little finer. And the whole point of quantum mechanics is not to do something finer. The whole point of it is to say, screw the finer, let's just establish the parameters that the finer fits in, and then just play with it that way. Let's just put it in a cat farm and play with the cat farm.
Light bulb is burning, or all the time. Reflective properties, chemical processes, they're all described by quantum mechanical principles.
No. Quantum mechanical principles? There's no principle in quantum mechanics. Okay, that's not the exact opposite of a principle. Instead of making an explicit statement, it's making an open statement. It's establishing merely the fact that there's a probabilistic place that the fucking thing is, and there's a probabilistic place it's going to end up going, and that's all it's doing. It's cake mix, Piero. It is not magic.
Okay, the other thing I think that's even more detailed is I think it's good to study anesthesia, right? We don't know why anesthesia works.
Oh, fuck me in the brain again. Oh, I know. Yeah, oh, badly. Really bad performance. This is so stupid. We know a lot about how it works. We know a lot how a reflex works, how a neuron works. Okay? The first reflexes, let's say, biologically, were chemicals. So you would have a little organism, and a chemical would go from one end of the organism to the other end of the organism. Son of a bitch. Hello? Okay. And I'm back. Fuck. Medical advice. There's a cat in there. Oh, it's that way. Cat now. It's a cat. Yeah. He's never in this room. He must have threw up in the other room or something. Some more fun for me. Anyway, back to Piero. It's kind of turned the stomach a little, I have to concede. You're just going way too far. Yeah, that's where I left off, right? This is outrageous.
Anesthesia turns off consciousness. So right. We know this though. You know, to talk like they don't know anything is just so stupid. We've known about tourniquets for a long time. It just cuts off the electricity. You know, I mean, the cell chemistry changes, the conductivity is destroyed. Eventually, the cell dies if you're not careful. But yeah, and you become kind of anesthetic. So yeah, we know inside the brain the same kind of crap is happening. It's just interfering with the transmission of the chemistry between the cells and the electricity in the cells. And that's it. And we know from biology, just logic, that like I was saying, if this is a microorganism, it's getting a little big, you know, because life forms are getting bigger and bigger, and it's got to communicate from the front end to the back end. And so yeah, chemical takes a little while to get there, right? But electricity is there almost instantaneously. And so yeah, we became electrical instead of chemical in terms of our reflexes, because it really is a huge advantage in having electrical reflexes rather than chemical reflexes. If you have to wait for the chemical to get from the end of my finger all the way to my brain, it's going to take a long time to eat. Now, how anesthesia works would tell us something about consciousness.
Yeah, well, again, you're talking like they don't know anything, which is just bullshit. They know a lot. Now,
My pointing out willpower as opposed to free will is also invoking not just a physical metaphor, but I hope a literal
type interpretation, where
it's just a stupid word game, word play. The two subjects are not related at all. Okay, the subject of free will has nothing to do with willpower. They're two separate conversations. You want to talk about how our brain makes a decision, in the sense that something dominates, what programming dominates, how that programming dominates. Well, that might be a subject of some merit, but I think we've already even covered that. I mean, it just does. Okay, there's a rule making in the brain, whatever you want to call it, a democracy of personalities, a democracy of subroutines. They're pulled, and they gain, and a concept gains weight that way. It gains weight through experience, through guilt, through associations of all kind. It's given a weight figure, a number. Whatever one has the biggest number is the train that races through your consciousness. Is the one that you say, hey, look what I just did. That's the train that ran. That's the train that got to the gate and got through the gate first. It wins. That's your will. That's all, Pierrot. We don't really need to cut it finer than that.
what we call will, free or not.
Yeah, well, free or not, saying a little crap line like free or not, it's no more bullshit, more sloppy crap, as if there hasn't been a pretty decisive argumentation made, that there's not, the word free is a crap word in the first place, it's a God word. You might as well talk about Betty Crocker love again. This is babble, this is baby talk, this is creation science, this is useless gibber. You're just wasting my fucking time.
Involves power, as in energy being transported around a system. So
this is just so stupid. Are you going to call someone who's psychotically paranoid, will paranoid? Is that what you're going to call it? It's just stupid. It's a stupid way to talk about human psychology.
We can simply study that. Right? So when we're studying why anesthesia works, we will be looking at things.
It works, obviously, by either interfering with chemical receptors or with electrical transmission. It doesn't need any more. You really don't need. We really don't need to go into what compounds bounce into what compounds and stick to which compounds and block which receptors on which things and blah, 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 blah. Who the fuck cares? Go to medical school if you want to have a conversation about that irrelevancy. But it has nothing to do with a philosophical conversation about either human psychology and how it basically functions, or the universe and how it functions.
Like, how the power, the energy moves through neural networks.
Oh, right. Right. How does two competing programs running on the processor decide which one wins? Well, it's a mechanical process. That's how it's decided. And there's a mechanical process inside our brain that decides the winner, that decides what your fucking will is going to be, what your will is going to look like. It's a mechanical process, Pierrot. The cake mix is put in the fucking bowl. Period. Not magic, not love, not willy power. No.
And generates this phenomena of will. I think that's a pretty big head start, really, compared to being told that we need to go to metaphysics, which I refuse to do.
Oh, whatever. Yeah, you refuse to. You're fucking drowning in your metaphysics. You're drowning in your stupid, idiotic, infantile fucking jargon. Your perversion of vocabulary. You're drowning in it. There's a point where you're just going to be dead to me. This is unacceptably sloppy. This is 3 minutes of absolute crap. Thank you. Yeah, that was fun. Alright. I guess it's the Mystic. Okay, so he hasn't finished all of my video. And he's basically just saying, yes, okay, it's this
universe is universing thing. We're sort of back to that thing, you know, whether it's dominoes or whether it's little things that just pop down, pop up, pop down, pop up. You know, like one flips and the next one it hits it and it pops up, or some other little mechanical device that decides what all these little flippies are doing, and then they just do like the dominoes would do, little swirly, flowy, blah blah blah. You know, shoots all over the place. The little flippies get organized. Okay, not like on purpose, but they get organized based on the initial inertia. And those inertias bang into each other and collide and combine and do all kinds of things and end up over time getting heavier and more complex and denser and caught up inside of each other, and loop-de-loo and all kinds of knots are tied because they're swirling inside of each other and blah 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 blah. Yeah. And that's the game. But what he's saying is there's no room in that game for this idea of something mattering in terms of having value. Like, this pain and suffering thing doesn't mean anything because it doesn't fit into that swirly stuff somewhere. I guess I could argue, like he's using a metaphor, he's saying, let's say the pain and suffering stuff is all identifiable swirls. It's all a particular color called shitty brown. And I would argue that the only place this shitty brown is made is with this DNA molecule doing its thing, and it creates this, you know, special shitty brown. And I could argue that the shitty brown is different. We just can't see the difference. That the difference that makes us conscious is like little spikes on the shitty brown, or little somethings about that texture of that swirl that is unique to that swirl. That it is a phenomenon that is real, in the sense that the shitty brown does have a character. Beyond just being shitty brown colored, it's also shitty brown in its actual function. Just like I can magnetize this screwdriver. You know, just by interacting with a magnet, I can make it a magnet. I can change it, and its properties change. And that property of magnetism is a difference. And I guess I'm saying is I think shitty brown is different. It has a property, and the property is in these things called sentient organisms, in consciousnesses, it creates this thing called yuck, ouch, crud, shit. Not a good feeling. Yeah. So, enough of that. I mean, I really just don't know where to go with that one. I just can't. Arguing for the existence in the dimension of meaning of the idea of suffering. It just, I don't know, how do you argue something like basic? It's tough. It's back to the wetness of water again. You know, it's like there's just nowhere lower to go. I can't come up with some lower form of dictionary besides my conscious experience as being the validation for the reality of it. I know it, I tasted it, I've been there, I've seen it. You just can't tell me the Emerald City doesn't exist. I've seen it. Walked the streets. Talked to the horse. Did it. Anyway, alright, so the other thing was Piro and the Adam guy. Alright, they had this video, just some, you know, from the Stickam. They did a little Stickam. Yeah, they can only last 10 minutes. Well, they last half an hour. You know, I put in hours there, and these people can't even hold it, can't even keep it up for an hour. Anyway, but yeah, you can see how I was missed, because Piro just talks way too much if somebody doesn't interrupt him now and then. But anyway, and the Adam guy, you know, was making an effort to defend my side of the story, but sounded sort of like he was doing it by sticking a knife in my fucking balls. But whatever. You know, look, my argument for this this redoing creation of an internet site, I've made it pretty clear what my expectations are. My expectations are is to create something I would want to buy, something I would want to purchase, something
I would want to be part of. And so I want to be part of something that's a not-for-profit, that it provides the service at the cost of the service, not to pay somebody's yachts, not to pay stockholders, not to do any of that shit that's in the standard company, but just to provide the service. And I don't really like the idea of a communal thing, in the sense that I don't want to subsidize somebody else's business, and I don't expect a subsidy unless I earn it. So, I mean, I like the idea of creating something where you pay for what you use, and that you take legal responsibility for what you do. Period. Not that complicated. So the terms of service are, you have to be identifiable, you have to have a paper trail that somebody can follow if they want to sue your fucking ass, and you pay your way. And we could say you don't have to pay your entire way. We could have a little bit of a subsidy built into it, in the sense that we could have a voting system or some other system where people can give points to somebody, which means they get a discount. So people who aren't advertising would have some way to pay their bandwidth costs and that kind of stuff. But I don't like the idea of me being just one of 100 people. Like, say I'm one of 100 people with the Amazing Atheist and, you know, Joe Smucko and Cutesy Girl and Putsy Kitty and, you know, Jerky Offie. And they're all getting 100,000 views a video. Why would I want to subsidize them? Why would I pay the same price they're paying? I mean, and besides the fact that they could, through this mechanism, through this service, be putting their own ads on. They could be doing, you know, picking up Coke cans in the video and going, drink Coca-Cola, fuckers, and getting paid for that. Why should I subsidize them? That would be not what I want to do. I want to just pay my way and take responsibility for what I produce. And I just want a company that will allow me to do that. Pay the raw, crude cost of bandwidth, the raw, crude cost of keeping the computer running, and I want to take legal responsibility for what I do. Period. And I want some company that gives me a contract that says that's what they're going to do. So anyway. So what else was I going to do? Well, I guess I'll have to do it later because I'm running out of disk space now. This filter sucks the fucking hell out of the disk space. Should have figured that out before I made the video. So anyway, it's only a 3-part video instead of 4. So I'll save the other thing for another video. It's just a thing about the gimmick on the website on the thing, so I'll just put it on the website and a little explanation that, you know, you can do this thing with, well, whatever. I'll get to it later.